Hey, it's me, your house talking. You know, to make me really happy, go to Lowe's and get some tools to fix me up. They have the widest selection with the right tools for every job. You do that for me, I'll give you back those socks you've been looking for. And maybe your sunglasses. But not the watch. The watch is mine now.
Make your home happy all season long and go to Lowe's for great deals, like a free Cobalt 80-volt max battery via rebate with purchase of Cobalt string trimmer, blower, or chainsaw. Offer valid 3/9 through 3/31 on select Cobalt products. See store for details, U.S. only.
Well, this is where the show open rolls. Let's try this. It's not going to happen. I'm going to go by without it. I just uploaded a new open to the show, and I was expecting it. There it
is. Welcome to New Human Living Radio Show, bringing you powerful interviews to awaken the power in you. Learn more at newhumanliving.com. And now your host, Les Jensen.
Hello, and welcome to the show tonight. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have a delightful show. I'm very excited for it. The topic tonight is embracing money, embracing life, and our guest is Veronica Torres. And Veronica is such a dynamic being. She's so joyful. We're you know, I think we're just going to get into it because I think that'll work out best. Welcome to the show, Veronica.
Well, hi. Thank you. Happy to be here.
I went to describe you, and I fell short of words. Do you want to give us a snapshot of your passion and your purpose?
Well, thank you. Yes. My name's Veronica Torres, and I'm the channel for Elohim and the Council. Elohim's focus is on providing us with what they call empowered evolution. It means practical, actionable, step-by-step ways we can break habits that haunt us and start to live the full potential that Earth and being human offers.
Wow. Well, I want some of that. When you say full potential, I mean, how can we even imagine what that looks like? Can you give us an idea of what kind
Sure.
of a picture that paints?
Yeah, and you know what I think is an important thing about what you said is I'm not even sure that we need to imagine what the potential is because we'd start from a very limited place. What we need to do is stop living from the limited place and then see just what we can have, how it can be when we're no longer caught in the habits that are driven by the survival instinct, that are driven by fear, that are driven by worry and anxiety. When you're just coping with all of that stuff, you're going to have a very limited experience. And Elohim's work is to transform your relationship to those sort of normal, we consider them normal, stances on life, so that we can start to see what else is here. And rather than imagine that right now, I think it's much more powerful to change what we're doing and then have it be revealed to us.
Sure. You know, I think for so many people, they're going through their day in and day out, and there's such little variation when I look on the people's faces as they drive in traffic. There's no joy. There's no contemplation. It's kind of a blank, empty look, like they have a low-grade flu. And then you know, you say, what the hell? And you go to a weekend seminar, and you're in a room with 1,000 people, and everybody gets up and cheers and hugs and loves and is joyful and playful and kind of lets go of the story. And you get so damn excited. You're electric. You're alive. That's like a sample of it. It's like unlimited possible. Well,
that's
to be able to embody that.
Yeah, you go and you get fired up, and you're around people of like mind, and you manage to set aside your problems and your worries for that weekend, and all of a sudden you're really, really go, whoa, this is what I want. But then when you go back home, if you're not supported in that new revelation and the rest of your life has stayed exactly the same, it can be a little hard to change. What Elohim's really good at is giving you tools. That's what they're most famous for, is all their tools to reinforce those changes that you're making in your life so that they can propagate out into your primary relationships, work, home, partnership, family, etc. That's the goal here, is to have it propagate, not just plop on you 1 weekend a year that you can round up, the time and the energy to go to something like that.
Well, so often in relationships we can see the difference between needing, where you're drawing into you from a sense of lack, and then giving, where you're so flippin' full, your cup is like Niagara Falls. And when you find that truth within you, that infinite well of love within your own being, and you've taken out your self-love every night and polished it nice and pretty, when you understand that you won't accept anything but love, and you love yourself enough, and then you go into a relationship that way where each person is fulfilled from the inherent love within, then the willingness to give unconditionally that love with expecting nothing in return is that place where the laws or principles of life melt away and all things become possible.
Sounds like you have it figured out.
Well, there's
you got
days.
it dialed in.
If I want to get in the now, I go play in traffic. That usually does it really quick once the horns start honking. No, I'm kidding.
It's interesting you bring up being in the now, because Elohim is illuminated, and I found it to be very true for me, that there's not a lot of teaching in how to actually be in the now in a really positive way. You're told all the time, you should be in the moment. This is the only moment that matters. This is where everything happens. But frequently I find people go, okay, I'm in the moment, oh God, I'm worrying. I'm in the moment, oh no, I'm in fear. Oh, I'm in the moment, oh God, I can't stay in the moment because. And Elohim teaches us that the reason that happens is because the survival instinct is very strong in humans, which is good because it keeps us on the planet. But it's also not good for it to be in charge of your growth, because the survival instinct says stay small, stay safe, don't get killed. And you try to do something new, and the survival instinct flares up and says, don't try it. So when you're trying to be in the moment, be present, be creative, be active on what's actually happening, the survival instinct doesn't have a job in that moment. So it goes looking for a job. It tries to get you to remember the past, the things that didn't kill you, and think about the future, the things that might kill you. So the whole time you're in the moment, you're actually working in this very strange tension with the survival instinct. So if you don't evolve and mature your relationship to the survival instinct, put it in its place, in essence, it can make it very hard to be in the moment. And if you can't be in the moment, then it can make it very hard to reach for that full potential of being human, because you're too busy thinking about the past and the future all the time. And that's another thing the Elohim tools do, is support that ability to be in the moment in a healthy way, not a coping way, in a healthy way.
Well, I think I like the idea of emptiness. By becoming empty, you become full. By becoming nothing, you become everything. It seems like, from my perspective, the moment you create a preference, you're literally choosing one over another, and that creates this standing wave, literal standing wave in your persona that creates a karmic propensity. When you can be genuinely empty of that polarity, if you will, I suggest that's the space where any possibility becomes viable. In other words, the more you hold on to an expectation or a story of the past, the less likely you can embody a completely different tangent, and so you're more or less tied up.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's very hard to change your current moment if you're using the past to create it. And one of the things that Elohim talks a lot about is using the current version of you to address any situation you're in. And people tend, myself included, to allow previous versions of us to interact with the now moment because, you know that 20-year-old version of you. You know the 30-year-old version of you. Or you have big, deep fears in those times in your life, and so they're loud. When you meet somebody new and you go out on a date, are you using the current version of you to interact with that person, or are you using the person who had a heartbreak in high school, or the person who, got a divorce when they were in their 20s or 30s? Which version of you is showing up for that coffee? And I think that's a really important teaching as well, because if you're not using the current version of you, chances are you're not even present in the moment that you're in. Again, another way that we get slipped out of the moment.
Well, so for yourself, you've been involved with these teachings for a while. What have you noticed in your own life? How would you share how it has touched you? I think the biggest change, the loudest change in my life is that I used to be afraid all the time, like literally all the time. Classic behavior of trying to fall asleep at night and thinking about things that will go wrong in the future and planning how I'll respond to them when they do. That was a very common behavior for me. Feeling just afraid, driving down the street on a sunny day in a tourist town where I live, and somehow finding justification for being afraid of the people in the other cars that are just driving along at 25 miles an hour with me, but feeling afraid of them, feeling like I didn't have any answers to what was going on. I've always been really empathic and psychic, so I didn't know how to handle that, and I was always overwhelmed by the emotions of others, which I processed in a fearful way as well. So pretty much for me, I was just afraid all the time. And I don't find myself afraid anymore. I just, of course sometimes something comes up, but I have such different skill set for dealing with anything that has the possibility of making fear. And I don't go around looking for fears like I used to at all, period, full stop. That does not happen. So when something happens, like earlier today, my cat needed to go to the vet, in the past, that would have been devastatingly fearful for me. This time I was just like, okay, we'll find out what's going on. Just that's that. It's a that, not it's an is. It's not a projected disaster scenario that I have to, build up in my mind and in my adrenal system and in my body. It's just a fact. Got to go to the vet. Sure.
So that's the biggest change for me. And it's a huge, huge change in my quality of life. Huge change in my quality of life.
Well, nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like now you can genuinely rest or genuinely have a sense of peace in your heart, in your persona.
Yes, that's for sure true. Yeah. And I know if I get off my center in whatever way, I know how to get back to my center. Using Elohim's tools and teachings, I can come back to my center because I know off my center isn't a permanent state. It's just a bauble, let's call it, It's just a bauble, and I can bring that back to the center using the tools they've taught us and choosing my reactions to my experiences. And so none of that's coping. I think that's a really important difference to make, is that a lot of times I think people just cope with their anxieties, cope with their fears, cope with their troubles. And Elohim's work is all about transforming your relationship to it so that you have a healthy interaction with it, not a coping, hope it goes away. Maybe I'll just make it through. I have a day off this weekend, I can rest, and I won't think about it during that time, kind of a feeling, which, that only lasts for so long, and it's not quality of life. It's coping of life, which, no thank you. I wouldn't go back.
It's an endurance to cope because it stays with you, but if you can transform it and release it, then you're free of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, we don't get taught necessarily how to do that. And so that's why this work really fixed so many things that I was struggling with, is because it was like, oh, you mean I get to set this down, I face it, and I transform my relationship to it, not deny it, not pretend about it, but actually look at it straight in the face, tell the truth about it, interact with it from the current version of me, use the tools, and then I get to set it down.
Well, that's the only way you can be free. If you avoid looking at it, then you avoid life itself.
Yeah. Elohim likes to say, sure, change is challenging, but habitual response is painful, and it's a pain that never ends.
Sure. I've been noodling the notion of, so I'm a soul personified, and then when I was born, I didn't have an ego, and then through my family of origin and the mental building blocks and emotional posturing, I created an ego. It's like my soul shuffled its feet across the carpet. Now I have this static charge, and the charge isn't me, but I can be afraid of it, and that's what you're talking about when you have these angst feelings, when you have these residual feelings and thoughts and emotions of the past. But the truth of you cannot be destroyed. I mean, I can lose connection with my body and go get back in line to reincarnate again, but the truth of me is untouchable by mortal intention. And what it's done for me is I want to know all these flippin' lessons I've accumulated over time because those are the human experience my soul came here to have in the first place.
Yeah, it's a really interesting setup we've got going on here. The idea that, we're a soul, yes, infinite and immortal, yes, learning and growing is our only job, yes, and as a soul we decided that a portion of our soul, a very small portion, decided to come and animate a human form and have the experience of density and duality while running around in an amnesic state as to the fullness of ourselves. Okay, that sounds like fun. Elohim says, yeah, you guys, it's like pin the tail on the donkey. All you had to do was put the tail on the wall, but that's too easy, so you make it harder. You spin around, you blindfold yourself, God knows what else you come up with, because you like a little bit of a challenge. Well, souls like a little bit of a challenge too. So you come down and you do a series of incarnations on Earth, and you accumulate a lot of wisdom and knowing and growing, and that informs your soul's journey.
Sure, I like that.
Yeah, I thought the pin the tail on the donkey idea was hilarious. When they told us, they really got into it too, and they were laughing and saying, yeah, and it's not hard enough that you put a blindfold on. You've got to put like tables and chairs and barbed wire and moats and all kinds of stuff between you and that wall. And at any moment, all you have to do is take off the blindfold and make it super easy. But no, that'd be too easy. Let's do it this other hard way. It's kind of funny. So, a lot of this work is about learning that how we're doing it isn't the hard way. It's the way that offers the challenge to give us the growth we desire. And,
sure.
When the human suffers because of loss and grief and money and sadness and all that, it's maybe not even kind to say, hey, but you're doing this for your growth. But when you're not triggered, I think it's much easier to see, I'm doing this for my growth. I can feel myself changing and growing. And contributing something new to my overall knowledge. So, yeah. But when it hurts, man. I know it. I've been there. So, got to give the body the time it needs to react and respond to challenges. So that's one thing I've learned a lot in the last 6 or 8 months, is that really valuing that the body needs longer to change and grow and interact with anything that's happening. So I can be like, I know this is okay, but I still feel a little sad because what is my cat going to be okay? I can feel calm and still have sadness, or I can feel that temptation to worry while I'm still calm, because I'm acknowledging the body's reaction while also having what we call the personality's wisdom about the situation, which is that I'm going to choose neutrality and calmness as much as I can, because worry doesn't help my little cat at all, and it definitely doesn't help me, and it's not useful. So, but the body still has a body's process. And so it's been a really interesting process learning how to let the body have its feelings without going along with them as though they were a mandate.
Well, so you have this material and these teachings. What kind of a platform have you created to work with people? Like, do you do one-on-ones? Do you do online webinars? Can you kind of share your platform?
Sure. So, yes, I do one-on-ones. I do private sessions by phone or Skype, so that's available to folks on my website, ELOHEIM.com. I also do public meetings by webinar 4 times a month, and conference calls also a couple times a month. So there's plenty of ways like that to be in communication if you prefer a group event. I have retreats and other special weekend events all along the year. So there's tons and tons of ways to be in touch. I have a Facebook group people are welcome to join called Connect with Elohim, which is a place that I engage with every day, and we have conversations and special themed days where we work on growth together. And I also have over 500 YouTube videos, so you can get your fill, and 20-something books. I think that's...
You've been busy.
I have been very busy. I've been working with Elohim since 2002, and started the webcast thing way early in the process when a lot of people weren't doing it yet. We actually created our own in-house webcasting system so that we could do that way before it was a thing. Now a lot of people do it, but back in the day they didn't, and we had to figure it out on our own because, people would tell me, I don't have spiritual community. I don't have anybody to talk to about my desire for personal growth. And I thought, well, we can fix that.
Right.
We can fix that. We can make a community right here. And so we have people from all over the world that participate in our group regularly and have become close friends with other people all over the world because it really is a big family feeling because we're in it together and we support each other very, very profoundly.
Yeah, I see a lot of co-ops, if you will, where groups are combining and joining hands and across many different genres, if you will, where I think people are recognizing that we are all one, and it's only through coming together and creating that reunion from the days we separated that we're really going to be able to experience the truth and like it's the only path. So, well, can you tell us about Elohim and kind of the dynamics of it and a little of the story?
Yeah, so Elohim and I are connected when we talk about soul and the part of the soul that's being the human body. Elohim said that that's our relationship. So they're my soul, I'm the human part of that collaboration. And that, I don't think about that very often. I don't feel them in that way. I feel them as a part of me. This is almost impossible to describe. It's a very strange feeling. In the beginning, they felt very different from me. Over these last, whatever it's been now, 14 years, I feel like we merge more and more and more. As I become less triggered and less habitual and less driven by fear, well, there's more, there's more open space in my system, literally more brain availability to connect with my soul more, and everyone has this ability. And so as I connect with my soul more and start living my soul's perspective more, I feel like we're merging more and more and more. So in that way, it's very interesting. People call it that I'm being Verohimi. So I guess that's our Brangelina name is Verohimi. So, sometimes when we're all out to dinner or something, all of a sudden I'll just say something. I'll be like, I think Elohim helped me with that a little bit. And so that's an interesting process that we're getting to that point where we kind of complete each other's sentences. So it's a very intimate and beautiful exploration. But on the other hand, I can't get away with anything. Like, I don't get to, mope around and feel sorry for myself or feel like a victim or spend a lot of time doing any of that nonsense, because they'll be like, knock, 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 hello, what are you doing?
Right.
So in that way, it's a bit like, I take cello lessons, and it's a bit like having my cello teacher following me around all the time saying, have you practiced today?
Right, yeah. Nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. So, but in that way, it's, it's a gorgeous opportunity for me, because it's given me so many things in my life, as I mentioned before, a huge amount of friendship and opportunity to travel to these other places, to see these people in person and spend time with them, and, having answers to questions that bothered me, and freedom from patterns that haunted me. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. But it's, it's work. It's not all bunnies and rainbows.
You refer to them as they. Is it a council or? Well,
here's the deal with that. When I first started channeling, it felt really, really weird to say, to let someone else's words come through my mouth, but say I. That felt weird. It'd be like quoting Shakespeare, but saying I instead of saying this is Shakespeare. That felt out of integrity, right? So,
sure.
And because Elohim has many different things going on in their soul expression and many different incarnations of being human and all of that, it didn't feel like using the singular was really authentic or accurate even. So we just started with we and they and stuck with we and they, and it feels right to me. It has always felt right to me. And that's what we do. They're we or they, and when I say I mean Veronica's thoughts. And when I say we, I mean Elohim's thoughts. And when we finally merge and become a one, we'll make up a new pronoun. Because none of them are going to work, I don't think. I don't know what it would be. I y'all. That's what we're going to be. I y'all. Jeez, let's not. I'm glad we're not there yet. I don't want to think about that one yet.
The rowdy ones. Yeah. Well, it's. I find it curious because in the spiritual community, there's so much smoke and mirrors, if you will, people with less than integrity in their intentions. I always like to advise people to listen to the language of love, because it doesn't matter who the persona is. Unconditional love will always leave you your choice and your sovereignty and your free will. And so but the love leaves a language to it. I think you can tell love by the language that is used. So what do you think?
About?
Time and space, puppy dogs, tasting of radio shows.
Yeah, what do I think? It's interesting that Elohim frequently tells us that we're all big-brained, overachieving light workers get really attracted to the Elohim work. Super smart people, they know a lot, they've studied with a lot of teachers, they've read a lot of books, watched a lot of videos, listened to a lot of podcasts. They know stuff. And on some level, there's something missing. And the thing that Elohim seems to be able to fill in for people is the actionable aspect, the step-by-step, the actually, I can do this right now. If I need something right now, and this is what I can do. I can use this tool and apply this teaching. And that's what seems to really get it for people, is when they say, I've heard lots of ideas, and I believe them, but I still can't get along with my dad. I still have trouble at work. I'm still fighting with my kids over the same thing I've been fighting with them for the last 10 years. I still struggle in the same way I've always struggled. No matter how many classes I take, that same struggle comes back. That's where Elohim's work is really powerful, is breaking through there, since we have all these tools. And the way the tools got developed is we have public sessions and private sessions where people say, this is what's going on. And Elohim says, and they figure out what's actually happening that's showing up in that way. And they give a notion, a tool, an activity that person can do to break that pattern that's got them trapped, to break up that pattern that's got them trapped, so that they can transform their relationship to that energetic, as we talked about. So, I've got a book on my website that's a combination of 3 of my books that gives you 53 of Elohim's tools in one spot, in one ebook for $10. And so there's an opportunity there to really learn these tools and start using them. And then, of course, in all the YouTube videos and the online events we have and stuff, Elohim will just come up with a new one on the spur of the moment. Oh, this is how you should handle that. Try this. This will work. And so it's really, in that way, the work is so practical that it really digs in places where I've been told by other people other spiritual teachings don't take them. So that's what's really gratifying. Because it does it for me, and it's doing it for other people too.
Well, very nice. Shall we have Elohim on the show?
Why not? I mean, it'd be silly not to. Yeah. All right, give me just a moment, and I'll grab them, because they're usually handy when I'm on the shows. So just 1 second, I will round them up.
No worries.
Hello.
Hello.
It's always amazing to us, because we come in and we're like, oh, this is what we're doing now. So we're on the radio with you. Hi.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. And
thank you.
I'd like to thank you for your love and compassion that you show humanity through your service.
Well, we're so impressed by you all. Coming to Earth is not a small task. Because you come to Earth, you have to forget so much in order to come to Earth. And then you're here, and because of the density and duality that you're in, it's a very intense sort of experience that's very different than when you're not on Earth, when you're non-physical. So it's always sort of considered brave and bold to come to Earth. It's a bit like back in the day before you had the kind of transportation options you have now, and you had people that, went overland to India or someplace like that, and you thought, oh, God, only a few people do that. That's hard. You got to ride a camel, and you're in the desert, or whatever happens when you go to India. We don't know. But you know what we mean. It's like that whole out there doing something that's hard. You don't know how it's going to turn out. It's all full of uncertainty, and they come home changed, and they have all these fantastic stories, and they've tried all this amazing food, and they've gone to all these exotic places. Well, that's like you guys going to Earth. You guys come to Earth, and you become these exotic travelers who have these powerful experiences, and then as a soul, you're colored by the fact that you have had Earth lifetimes. So it's a big deal, but it's also, as you know, big challenges at times too. And many light workers will say to us, stop the planet, I want off. It shouldn't be this hard. I shouldn't have to go through this. It shouldn't be this way. And we always kind of wonder, why do you think it shouldn't be? Like, what gave you the idea that it wasn't going to be just exactly like this? That's a preconceived notion for sure. How about instead of saying it shouldn't be like this, we start to look at how to choose your reactions to how it actually is, rather than sit in victimhood of the fact that you're here. Yes, our work is that you create your reality through how you choose to react to the moment you're in. That's how it works. Each moment, you get to choose. Now, people might argue with us and say, oh, but it happens automatically. We're like, okay, that was a really fast habitual choice that you had no consciousness about. But it was still a choice, we promise you, and we can teach you to make that choice in a conscious way, rather than let it be habitually driven. That's how you access the potential, right? That's how you get there. You're not going to get there by doing the same thing over and over and over again and then complaining about it. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's not even going to get you happy. That's not even going to get you pleased. That's not even going to get you happy enough to be relaxing on the weekend, nonetheless trying to be of service or of the light or evolving or transforming your society or making a difference in the world. Being upset that it happened and then sitting on that's not how you do it. You choose your reaction to that experience and you transform your coping patterns into healthy, conscious choice. That's what you do if you want to make a difference in this world, a positive difference in this world.
So when you look at humanity collectively, are you noticing an enormous amount of change? Because for myself, I feel within my own psyche that there's a lot of love, a lot of excitement. When I sense it, when I feel it, it feels electric. It feels exciting. It feels open, and I just feel like there's a new wave of experience coming onto the planet.
There's definitely a lot more people who are out there having good thoughts about each other, wanting supportive collaboration, acknowledging that we're all in this together, and wanting to build a positive future than there are people having the otherwise feelings. It's just that your media, makes its money off of the news that's titillating. And, the young kid helping the old lady with her grocery, not titillating. And so it doesn't get publicized. And it can be very easy, especially in this time of instantaneous access to so much information, much of it only the titillating stuff, that you lose sight of the big picture of what the other news is that's out there. And that's something that we think you guys all need to be really cautious about, is especially with the way the media is changing nowadays, the focus, the way it makes its money, the way people consume media, it's all changing. And as it changes, it's flailing about a bit. And titillating news is having a higher and higher percentage of publication. So it's up to each of you, really, to look past that and to notice within your own life, within your own community, and within your own surroundings the positive, constructive, we're in this together energy that's there.
Well, I like that.
There's a lot of it. Yeah.
Since you brought up the media, we can talk about the here in the United States, we're going through the political process, and it seems like a clown show. And a lot of people, when they observe it, they get fearful about what might happen in the future. What would you say to them as far as they as individuals, what they can do to promote a positive outcome regardless of what the media shows them?
Well, it's extraordinarily important to realize that the most important service you will ever offer to this world is your emanation, is what you offer energetically to the rest of the world. There's only so many people that you can make bag lunches for or drive to Meals on Wheels, right? You really only have a limited amount of physical support you can offer, but your emanation is almost limitless. So in each person, it's extraordinarily vital that you check in on what you're emanating. If you're going to share something on Facebook, share what you want, not what you don't want. Offer what your vision is, not resist a vision of another that you don't agree with, so that you're contributing. If you imagine it's like a seesaw teeter-totter thing, right? Which side are you putting your sandbags on? And so when you talk about the part of the system you don't like, you do tend to feed into their side of the system if you have to go into duality, which unfortunately the political system is so dualistic, it's very difficult to even discuss it without speaking in dualistic terms, although that's not usually our style. It's very hard not to. So you want to make sure that you're contributing. Now, we can hear people saying, but what if you see something that's flat out wrong and you need to stand up about it? Even as you stand up about it, you have something that's, racism, something that we can agree. That's just not needed. It's not valuable at this time. If you say that person is acting in a racist manner, fine, full stop, factual. But then what you need to speak about what your vision of a non-racist experience would be, rather than continue to harp on the fact that that person was racist. Do you see the difference there?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay, so we explained that well enough.
Your thought is your vote. Your energy is your vote for the future. And I'd like to ask a few questions. Veronica and I were just talking, and she said big-headed people tend to like your Kool-Aid, and I'm an engineer by trade. When I look at the long past of humanity, thousands of years where we've gone into endless struggle and strife and all that crap, did we make agreements? That there would be people waiting for us on the other side to help us out of the muck and wipe off our glasses so we could get back to the truth?
Do you mean when you die?
No. Our souls, souls chose, we as souls chose to go to the edge of darkness. Here on this planet, war has done just whatever. And we chose to go so far away from the truth, to disconnect, to forget the truth of who we are, that here we are now. Now we're coming out of it, and it's I can see it catch on now, but 20, 30 years ago there wasn't a big spiritual movement. I'm just wondering, because souls make agreements before incarnation happens. Did we agree as a pack of souls that there would be somebody on the other side of the muck, if you will, that when we come out of the darkness, there would be people like you that bring the truth to us so we can...
well, here's the way we see that. You're right.
Okay.
You have a soul, and a portion of your soul is being you right now, right? So when you cross out of this body, you return, you take what you know about you into the collective energy of your soul. So it's not like your soul's somebody else. It's you expressing in this way. It's you expressing in this way. Just like maybe later on or earlier today you cooked a meal. You were expressing as a cook at that moment. And then you went off and you did something else in your job, in your life. Right? Now you're expressing as a radio interviewer. And you'll go off of air and you'll be doing something else. So it's not that the you that's not currently doing the radio is different than you. It's just a way you are choosing to express in this moment. So when you come into the human form and you do density and duality and you express in these very intense ways that oftentimes can look dark to the dualistic setup that you've got going on here on Earth.
Sure.
They're also very fascinating developments that are going on from a soul's perspective. Right? You sit back and as a soul, the soul observes the evolution. Now here's the most interesting thing to us, is that you come onto this planet with density, duality, and amnesia in a situation where you have the survival instinct that tells you to maim and kill and shoot and fight and gather up and protect your stuff, right? Let's be real. Yet something in you all still turns toward growth and development and seeks something more outside of the limitations that you perceive. Now, maybe some people go very slowly at this and some people go faster, but it's fascinating to us that on a planet that's like this, where you really have no guarantees that you are just not worm food as soon as you die, so many people work collaboratively, and we're not talking so many people like 25. We're talking like 95% of the people work collaboratively, care about each other, build structures they'll never see finished. They care about the longevity of their communities and the health of their planet. And that to us is so fascinating, that even though you might just be here for 100 years, the tendency is very strong to care about what comes next, even for people you'll never meet. So we think that's a beautiful witnessing of the truth of all of you.
That's what the media should be covering.
Well, you are right now. You're the media.
Yeah, I know.
And you're covering it. Yeah.
I'm just getting started. I've worked in TV 30 years, and I see a a million stations, not a handful. But anyway.
Well, that's true. If you look at you're using the Blog Talk system, right? So how many years ago that didn't even exist? And how many years before that there were 3 TV channels? So now you have cable, there's a gazillion channels, and you have Blog Talk and all the other ones out there, and everybody's got a website, and everybody's got a YouTube channel, and everybody's got Instagram and Pinterest and all this stuff, and everyone's putting information out there. The thing is that people have not yet completely surrendered their dependency on what you refer as mainstream media to be the kind of ultimate source. And so as that fades more and more, the kids of today won't even care about that. They'll be like, what do you mean there were only 3 channels? What do you mean you just listened to CNN? What were you thinking? I've got 10 podcasts. Those are the people I trust, right? So this will fade. And the more people doing the thing like you're doing, that it chips away at that old structure that no longer serves because it focuses on titillation rather than truth.
So when you look at the energy of the collective now, how far out? I understand the future is malleable, and based on the energy of any one particular moment, you can see a propensity or a tendency towards an outcome. I mean, how far out does that? Because there's been people that have predicted the life of Jesus 1,000 years before he shows up. It seems like some of it has a long-term consistency, and some of it seems quite pliable as far as what literally creates the future. So when you look at us,
sorry, we interrupted you.
That's fine. When you look at us collectively, I mean, I'm just trying to understand how you see it unfolding. I mean, do you see 6 months, 6 years, 60 years?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, you know, in the case of like when you talked about seeing Jesus, it's really easy to say, whoa, Jesus made a splash. Let's go look around and see if he was predicted. Right. We bet there were a lot of predictions where you can't attach it to a historical figure. So you got to be kind of careful about that sort of idea. But to answer your question, when we look at a community of people, we talk about trajectory, which way you're pointed, right? And small changes can make a big difference in trajectory. Just tell an airplane pilot to point, you know, a few degrees north compared to where they thought they were going, and you'd end up someplace different. So for us, what we find really powerful is just to use the same example we just used a minute ago. Look at the changes in media. Right there.
Oh, sure.
Look at the change in the fact that, you know, 20 years ago you couldn't talk to somebody in Europe using your cell phone. Now you can. So right now you're undergoing such a huge upheaval in the truth of you are all one that we think it's hard even for those of you that are participating in it to see it. But we take a step back and compare just to a short time ago, and because we're not in it the same way you are, it's very easy for us to go, whoa, wait a minute. You guys went from the idea of a bicycle instead of walking to the space shuttle overnight. And you can't tell because you're in it, right? You're in it, and so it seems normal to you. It seems normal to you to walk around with a device in your pocket that basically has access to almost all the information of humanity. You know, of course, not everything's on Google, but enough is. You'll never get to it all. And more's being added every millisecond. And you carry that around in your pocket, and it costs you $50 a month. What? Like, you guys don't sit back and go, whoa, every single day? We don't understand why you don't do that, you know? So for us, the idea of the trajectory, like, there's no limit to that. It's just deciding what people want to focus on. And we really see that you're going to have even more refinement of niche. So, you know, right now, like, the funny thing is, like, on a dating site, right, you can say, I date the blank, 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 and you can narrow it down to these crazy categories of very niche desires. I like this TV show, but I only like the first 2 seasons. I got 300 people who will talk to me about the first 2 seasons of this TV show that we all like. And we'll dress up in the costumes, and we'll get the authentic fabric that came from the same store, because you can figure this stuff out now. In the past, that wasn't a possibility. Not even 10 years ago was that really a possibility. So we see a fragmentation into this deeper and deeper niches of connection where it's easier to feel that sense of we're all one. Because oftentimes we say the only thing you all have in common is that you breathe. Other than that, we wouldn't try to get you all to agree on anything. But you can say, for 2 hours a week, I agree with this group of people about this movie nonstop.
Right.
And so that way of feeling, that sense of connection is extraordinarily new and extraordinarily culture-shaping in a way that we don't hear people talking about very often.
Well, I look at what's come out of our history, if you will, like the music, like blues and jazz and whatnot, and it's so rich in feeling and story, and somebody will get up on stage and start jamming on a guitar, and the whole flipping audience melts down because it's such a moving experience. And then I think of souls that just come out of the one, and they're so flippin' glowing white, there's not a speck of karma or fear on them. I think as we come out of this history and we embody the light more and more, to keep the gems, if you will, like music, like dance, like theater, where we're all collectively sharing a passion and a memory, and that we don't just sterilize ourselves back to some kind of monk going all the time.
Yeah, we doubt that's going to happen. We don't, because becoming a monk, we call it monk in the cave as opposed to monk in the marketplace. Like, you've done your monk in the cave lifetimes where you meditated by yourself without distraction to receive a higher level of consciousness. Now we want you to take that ability to achieve a higher level of consciousness and walk it about in the world. That's our goal for you guys.
Sure.
Right? And so taking that presence into any situation you find yourself in, again, choosing your responses, your reactions in those experiences.
Well, very nice.
So that you create the next part of your reality.
So, you work with Veronica now. Are you here for many generations, or what did you sign up for Planet Earth?
We have been here since the beginning, since we were tasked by the Creator to offer you a free will zone so that you could come and have these experiences we've been describing. So we've been here since the beginning, and we'll be here until the end. This is our project, and we are on this project. So we're currently working with Veronica as the physical incarnation of our project, and at this time that's the only physical incarnation on planet Earth human that we have at this time.
Well, very cool.
It's plenty. It's plenty.
Well, any deity, any being, any persona that shows up to humanity with a sense of compassion and service I delight in that. So I'm very delighted to have both you and Veronica on the show, because it's quite evident. I read some of your teachings, and I love how simple and eloquent it is.
Thank you. This does not have to be complicated. It can be complex, right? There can be a lot going on. You're an engineer. You know about complexity, but there's not a need for unnecessary complications.
Sure.
So we strip things down to a very, very simple, actionable place. And we say everything happens step by step. And if the step you're on is too hard, break it down into smaller steps until the step you're on is one you can do in a very straightforward way. And if that means you break it all the way down to I'm inhaling, I'm exhaling, that's fine. But whatever step you're on whatever project you've got going on, if it feels too big, break it up. Break it up.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, with you and Veronica, who would you say your ideal client is? I mean,
for us, the ideal client for us is someone who, like Veronica says, is ripe. She calls them ripe. And what that means is it's someone who knows stuff. They've studied spirituality. They want to change. They're ready. They're sick to death of having it be the way it always has been and not being able to figure out how to change it. And they're like, I just need someone to help me see the clarity of this situation. That's what we excel at, is helping you figure out what step you're on, helping you stay on that step long enough to complete it, and helping you break out of patterns that maybe you can't even see right now.
Do you have other soul contracts with people to channel like Veronica does?
No, right now we're just working with Veronica.
Oh, nice. So what would you tell humanity as a whole about this moment, this day in our time?
We think you have a beautiful opportunity to discontinue looking to someone else to answer the questions, figure out the problems, fix the situations, be the one who's got it figured out, and become that person yourself. Take that ownership on yourself, that I'm the one who's going to change this moment for me, rather than wait for somebody else to come along to do it. And we're happy to help you with that, and we have lots and lots of support for you in doing just that.
Well, we're almost out of time. I'm not sure if we wrap it up with you or if Veronica comes back.
Let us get Veronica for you. We've enjoyed being with you. We're going to get her because it's always funny when she tries to talk right away after we've been gone. Okay, right, we're going. We'll get her.
Thank you. Bye.
They're laughing at me. I usually say it's funny when they do things. They don't usually say it's funny when I do things. Anyway, hi. So
hi.
That was Elohim. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was quite delightful.
You're welcome.
Were you cognitive of the dialogue?
Yeah. I actually found some of that. Some of that they have never talked about before, so I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed it too. I'd probably come up with more questions, but I wanted to keep it relevant to humanity and not my own personal curiosity, if you will. But it was some interesting dialogue. Well, we only have a few minutes left. Do you want to share with the audience how they can get a hold of you and your material?
Sure, I'd love to. So my website is ELOHEIM.com. That's ELOHEIM.com. And that's where you can get private sessions and recordings of our meetings and just tons and tons and tons of stuff. If you're on Facebook, please come over to our Facebook group. It's Connect with Elohim. We'd love to have you join our community there. We have a great community of people, and you are welcome to join us. If you like to watch videos, I have 500 and I don't remember how many, 25, 26, something like that, YouTube videos. It's youtube.com/Elohim channel. That's my section of YouTube. And what else was I going to say? Oh, books. So all the books are on Amazon. Most are paperback and ebook. Some are ebook only. And like I said, I don't know. I lost track once we got to about 20. Somewhere over 20 is the number of books we have. But lots and lots of books on many different subjects. So folks can find me.
An hour goes by pretty fast. Veronica, I want to thank you for joining us on this show. It's been a delight.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me, and you have a wonderful evening.
That was Veronica Torres, and we had such a delightful episode. I really enjoyed the charisma and that Elohim shared and the insightfulness. I really liked what they said about it's our choice. It's our own personal choice in the moment to decide for ourselves how we're going to react to things. You know, every single one of us is a powerful soul personified. And when you take the time to understand the nature of human power, which is always divine love, you can show up as a being of love and emanate that love through your heart to humanity. And it's such a satisfying place to live life from. go to newhumanliving.com and look at Citizen King, The New Age of Power. That's an excellent study about how to claim your personal power. Well, it's been my good pleasure to host this episode. I'm delighted you could join us. Until next time.
This has been a New Human Living radio broadcast to bring your soul's inspiration into effect and live your life wide open. Check out our host, Les Jensen's latest book, Citizen King, The New Age of Power, at newhumanliving.com. Thanks for listening.
At age 56, I feel better than ever. I walk 8 miles to work, practice yoga, and paddleboard on weekends with my husband. I'm also a GNC store manager. When customers ask how I do it all, I tell them that GNC vitamins and supplements really help. Our formulas are the highest quality, made with some of the best, most effective ingredients, guaranteed. Now, some of GNC's best wellness products are buy one, get one half off. Which ones are right for you? Just ask. We make it simple. Visit GNC or GNC.com for details.